Hi, everyone. I'm Mary O'Malley, and I'm a GTD coach.
And I'm Julie Ireland. I'm also a GTD coach.
And we're here today to talk about the strategy course or the strategy program.
In your experience, when someone starts to get that integrated sense of GTD and the mechanics start to just get onto cruise control, so they are clarifying and organizing inboxes daily. They're reviewing their lists and they're engaging with that predefined work at least a little bit, right? And they're doing their weekly reviews. They're getting the kind of that sense of on a day-to-day, week-to-week practice.
The first thing that comes to mind is, how am I going to get all this stuff done? There's more things on my list than I could do in a lifetime, let alone a week or a day.
Yeah.
That feeling of, wait a minute, what is real and happens once you can see all your things.
You're looking at the inventory that you've created, right? And some of which is going to be appealing and some of which isn't, but you have to look at it. Someone said to me once, it's a reason why people don't do GTD or some version of it. It's because they're going to look at the inventory and go like, oh my God, that's a lot. Or do I really want to do that? Like different questions come up, and facing that can be somewhat difficult for people. So that's why some people I think are reluctant, because it's almost on some level easier to just be reactive instead of, okay, I got the gestalt of the whole in front of me, now what?
I'm thinking specifically of one client that was like, look at all this, Mary. I'm doing all these things. My weeks are full and I'm not moving my business forward.
The great news is that's good news, right? That's just the evolution of the practice, right? Like you got yourself, that's the hard part is getting started. The hard part is getting set up. The hard part is learning the distinction of capture versus clarify and organize, and then how to start to review all of that. That's the hard part. You cross that hurdle, then, we're talking about deeper, more refined questions, and also starting to gain perspective. And that's what the GTD Horizons of Focus model is designed to do. Like, this is all super solvable. These are good problems to have.
I really like that. Yeah, it's good data, and it's not just like a teachable moment, which is a little bit of a cliche, but it's like a transformative moment. You get out of the feels and into like, look at this.
Yeah. That's just a new learning opportunity, right? Like, oh, okay, so now what? Wow, like I have all these great things that I'm tracking, some of which are appealing, some of which aren't. So how do I prioritize it? How do I make sure the right things are getting done? And how do I do that through the lens of my different areas of focus? And how does that all integrate? We can help with that.
Yeah.
So we typically kind of have this ground up approach. We're getting some fences around where stuff is coming in. So my inboxes are visible and clear. Here's the digital stuff that's coming in. Here's the physical stuff that's coming in. My mind, I know how to capture what's in my mind. And we're starting to clarify that stuff into clear, organized buckets, all of which gets reviewed. And then we start to work our way up a little bit more to the project level, where okay, now I'm also at the same time really defining those outcomes that are kind of in the short-term future that I'm going to be completing. And then, that's really that foundation. And then from there, we move up to the next level, which is Horizon 2 in the GTD model, which is areas of focus. Areas of focus and responsibility are the different areas that are important to us, that we need to put energy into maintaining, like our health, and our family, and our relationships, and our home, and our finances, and our careers. Now, when we start to break those down into very, very visible areas, now we almost start to go in reverse. Instead of going from the ground up, now we're starting to go top down, because we're clarifying those areas of focus and what are the projects and actions that are going to help us appropriately maintain those areas. And that's really where we start to prioritize.
When you're thinking about what to do, that's ground level. But when you're thinking about, I know all the things I have to do, but what is the right thing? then you got to go up.
Yeah, we start to develop different criteria for what we really are saying yes to. It's not just like is this actionable? Yes. Yeah, we've done that already, right?
Yeah.
Is this important? Yes. Is this valuable? Yes. We got that criteria. We need to work up to a different, like a higher criteria to really decide like what's going to make it onto today's list, or tomorrow's list, or Friday's list, in and around what's already on the calendar. And we have to have that, like that deeper criteria developed. Otherwise, everything kind of looks the same.
Yeah.
This is where GTD is so bottom up, top down. We start at the bottom because it's really hard to think strategically at the higher horizons of focus if my runway is a disaster. At the same time, if I don't have some semblance of what matters to me up here, then everything's going to look the same down here. Then we start to really refine the threefold nature of work, which is, okay, I have to really compartmentalize those activities. Like I have defining inboxes as just one activity, reviewing and prioritizing my list is one, and then making space for unplanned work. That requires more perspective than just the clarify and organize aspect of GTD. Horizon 2, areas of focus, we can map that to our roles. And once we're super clear about our roles and our responsibilities, we're going to know how much unplanned work is going to be a part of that. Like if I'm a salesperson, my phone's ringing, I'm picking it up. I can't complain about that.
Yep.
At the same time, if I'm just reacting to stuff, like it's not necessarily legitimate unplanned work, I just got in the habit of, answering calls or whatever, I need to look at that, because there's legitimate unplanned work that is a direct part of my role. And then there's less appropriate unplanned work that either got generated by someone else or my role shifted and I just didn't catch up to it. So being really clear about how much of my day is going to be spent, incorporating unplanned work into it is very, very deep thinking required.
Yeah. It requires a lot of reflection to then take a look at like why you've been drinking from a fire hose. If you have usually some insight in there that clients will show up and go, I got to say no to stuff. Now, when you start to look at your areas of focus, it's interesting to look at how much you say yes to that isn't in an area of focus for you.
Yeah. I mean, it happens so easily. So it's like having those reflection points and really getting clear, like, oh, am I taking this on because it's a direct, relationship to the role, or am I just doing it out of habit?
Yes.
And really getting clear about that it's such valuable learning.
It is not something that you're ever going to check off. You might shift your areas of focus or change them, but for me personally, I'm never going to go parenting check. Like,
it's never completed, right?
Yeah.
Not like a project that has a beginning and a middle and end.
Yes. So those areas of focus, when you really look at them and take some time to reflect, and having a coach to ask you the questions and kind of hold space with you to keep track of some of the patterns that they're seeing, asking those questions of your areas of focus can really generate some powerful projects and next actions.
Yeah.
So it's the bottom up, top down, is starting at the top and asking those great questions. If you don't have those buckets in place, if you don't have your system in place, well, we can generate the most life-changing project. And if you can't track it and keep it going, then like that's a big bummer. And on the other end, the bottom up, we can keep track of all the things that are showing up in your world. And if they're not aligned with who you are, why you are, and how you are, then you might be feeling still some dissatisfaction with your GTD system.
Yeah. And all these things, once again, they're just skills to learn. Learning how to do this is like learning how to ride a bike, right? It's obviously like a lot more thought required, but it's really, really valuable learning.